All right.
Okay, which actually is a nice segue into number 10.
All right, drum roll.
One. Okay, so number 10 is generative watermarking, enhancing trust with invisible, immutable markers. So this does get to artificial intelligence. And
Finally!
And it grapples with the question of how do you know whether something is created by AI or not?
Yep.
And I've got to tell you, so I ended up spending a lot of time on this one, and I was initially very skeptical because I'd spent a lot of time thinking about AI and working on it. And I am not entirely sure that you can watermark stuff.
Yep.
And certainly when you're looking at text, the current wisdom is you simply cannot apply a test to a piece of text and say whether it was created by a human or an AI, because you're going to get it wrong. There are going to be some humans that write
the false
like
positives are incredible.
Those people in the world that use the word delve a lot. so I went into this
dashes, right?
I went into this with some skepticism, but it turns out that there are some very, very sophisticated technologies that are being developed that do begin to allow things to be identified as AI versus not AI, whether those are text, whether those are images, whether they're video, whether they're audio. And of course, the driver here is that we are living in a world where AI is becoming so good at replicating what humans do that we're almost being pushed to an existential crisis where, unless you're sitting in front of somebody like you and I are, you cannot tell whether you're talking to a real person.
Even live, right? Like live video.
Live video, yes. Who knows whether it's AI or real? And so there's a growing feeling that there's got to be some way of differentiating. And there are some very, very clever technologies that are already being deployed. So if you just look at text, this idea of dropping in certain words and certain patterns of words that aren't obvious to a human reading it, but a machine looking at this can identify the pattern. So the word delve is an obvious one. It's a tell.
Yeah.
But now imagine that there are a lot of these words, and they only become apparent when you read a paragraph and you see not only the different words that are used, but the spacing between them, the order that they're in, a whole bunch of things. So you can begin to see how you can begin to embed these watermarks into AI generated stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. When I read this too, I'm like, okay, I get it. Also, I think this technology in itself is a technological reaction to the technology, which always ruffles me the wrong way. Because I know this is sort of the
technological fix.
Yeah, it's the counterbalance to this. We have to do something about this, right?
Yes,
you can't just have anybody, because exactly. I mean, even from a video perspective, the area of like deep fakes, for example. I mean, these could be incredibly powerful. There's been even in the last like year or two, really serious examples of Zoom calls with someone pretending to be like a CEO for a company, getting someone to issue a massive check because they were like, that's my boss. That everything about this person, it sounds like them, looks like them. And they're asking me to do something that is what they would ask me to do. Not knowing that they've just been catfished basically by someone who wasn't there. But that triggers that reaction for me, but also is this idea of like, for me, I'm like, I can appreciate the technological application of that, like of figuring out a way to create some kind of watermark system. However, even like looking historically, those never work because it's what this is a cat and mouse arms race.
See, that's
of
right.
Like,
you develop one technology and somebody works out.
I mean, right away, right? I could probably vibe code something where you're like, let's say it's Claude. Claude is putting delve every like 9th word and putting in 2 spaces instead of 1. I'm like, figure out what that thing is and make it look like that.
See that,
or
that's
reverse it, or
and of
whatever.
Course, if you're smart, you run text through the thing multiple times. And I think that this attests to the reality that, yes, we are going to find technological fixes and they're going to be important in some cases, but this is ultimately a social challenge.
It's a human problem.
That's exactly it. Yes.
And that's the thing. I mean, and that's one of those components. Because again, when you think about, here's an image and how do you bake in there the watermark that it was created by AI? I'm like, take a screenshot of it.
Right.
Okay, done. All right, next. So and again,
there are always going to be hacks to the system.
There are always going to be hacks to the system.
But I would say, and I think this is the same of any system, but you can also imagine sort of a future where you have standards. So sort of good players here actually adhere to standards. So 80% of the stuff that you see, you can actually tell whether it's AI or not. The difficulty is those people working at the fringes that work out how to get around this.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I will call out again, just something that I really appreciated from the World Economic Forum report here is with each of the top 10, there are beautiful images that sort of go with the headings.
They are.
And what I appreciate, speaking of the transparency, is on the call out for each one of those is the image, what it is, the credit that it was created. I think I looked at most of them. I think all of them were created in some form with Midjourney.
Right.
But they even give a abbreviated version of the prompt that was there. So not only, and I just really appreciated that because it would be very easy to just not say anything.
That's it.
Or just say, or at most just say image created by Midjourney. But they even go the step. That wasn't a requirement. That's not, I mean, that was just going above and beyond.
And I would say
of that transparency.
The images are beautiful.
They're
actually a wonderful demonstration of what you can do if you've got a designer mind working with AI.
Yeah. I mean, they're beautiful images. And I mean, I haven't done it yet, but I look at some of these, I'm like, I want to go try to create something like that. Because even starting from that prompt to see like, how long would it take me to sort of, strategically get one of these guys to work? But no, top 10.
Top 10, yes.
There we have it.
That was a long podcast, but really important, I think.
Very important. Yeah.